And we are live. Welcome back to the show. Welcome to the Two Man Front Sunday special edition. We couldn't wait till Wednesday to talk to you guys. We just couldn't wait. Fall couldn't wait. I couldn't wait because we have to talk about one of the wildest NFL drafts in some time, I must say, right? I haven't seen an NFL draft like this. And we've been watching drafts together at least for the last, 7-8 years. And usually it's kind of chalky, but this one was wild. But before we get into it, welcome to the Two Man Front. I'm your boy B Easy from B Easy Sports. That's the Fog from Objectively Biased Sports, and we are going to get into the show. Fog, before we begin, man, how's the time? I know you were playing. I know on game winning drive you were playing hurt, man. How's the toe?
It's feeling better now. I'm able to move around a little better on it, but man, how the hell you break a toe with a soda bottle? That's just fucking. I tear my bicycle, break a toe now, getting soda for the girlfriend. I don't even drink soda. I'm just getting it for her ass. I'm like, this is some bullshit. I got to stay in the house, bubble wrap myself for a while.
You got to start lying about the stories. You got to start.
I know the truth is not making me look good at all.
You got to start lying about the stories because the way you're tearing ligaments and breaking bones, dog. You might want to keep them to yourself, but hey, man, we're going to talk about the NFL draft, winners and losers, our favorite topic. Who won this draft? I think we all kind of have a consensus of who may have lost, but it kind of go either way. Like Fog, you were saying, there's really not a lot of losers. This is actually a pretty good draft for a lot of teams, particularly the ones in the back half. Go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube page as well. Take your phone, QR code that. It'll take you straight to our page. Thank you for subscribing. We really, really appreciate that. Let's go ahead and talk about the rundown, what we're going to be talking about. Today. Also, leave your comments below. Today, what was the biggest takeaway from the draft? Winners and losers. Our sleeper picks. Who is the next Puka Nacua, who we all know was dropped in the 5th round? And honestly, if it wasn't for CJ Stroud going off at quarterback, Puka Nacua had better run away with the Offensive Rookie of the Year this past season. And then, of course, early Rookie of the Year candidates. Who are those early Rookie of the Year candidates that we think are going to kind of come off and take the league by storm like CJ Stroud and Puka Nacua as well? And also, it's not on here. We're going to be also talking about our teams and how we think our teams did. And honestly, Fog, I think we have a lot of good things to say about our own teams because I think both of our teams really, really hit on a lot of good players, man. So let's go ahead. Let's start, man. Let's go ahead. What was your biggest takeaway, Fog? Just overall, your biggest takeaway in this year's NFL draft?
Quarterbacks.
Yeah,
I didn't think we were going to see 6 quarterbacks go in the first round. History has it that if you have 3 or 4 quarterbacks go in the first round, that's a lot. And if you have 1, maybe 2 of them actually have good careers in the NFL, that's a lot. We just had 6 go. I think that might be the most in any NFL draft in history, or tied for the most.
I think it was.
So that to me was the biggest standout. How the game has changed so much so that the quarterback position, and again, not to say that it's not important. It is on the offensive side of the ball, for me, one of the 3 most important positions you want to draft for. But the fact that we had 6 go in the first round, 6 go, I think, before 20, that's nuts.
6 before 20. And then who was the first defensive player taken? Was it Latu?
Yeah, Latu. I think at 15 or 16 with the Colts pick.
15 straight offensive players taken in the draft before a defensive player. If anything, this draft told us where the league is currently, not where it's going, where it is currently in terms of just the investments these teams are putting in these offensive players. And we kind of knew it was going to be a very offensive heavy draft, particularly on the line with wide receivers. We'll talk about a little bit of that moving forward. So we kind of knew it was kind of a weak pass rush draft. It wasn't the strongest on the line. So that may have been it. I think next year's draft is going to be I think it's almost going to flip on its head a little bit. Because next year's draft, as I'm putting together my way too early mock draft for the 2025 draft, Obviously, things can change from here until obviously next April. But man, like it's not looking pretty for if you're an offensive guy and you need a quarterback next year. Not looking pretty. I can guarantee you, I'm not a betting man. We're not going to have 6 quarterbacks go in the first round. Like unless
that could have also contributed to why we saw as many quarterbacks go in the first round, because the expectation by many experts is that next year's quarterback draft is going to be bleak.
I mean, it's going to be yikes. It's going to be it's not going to be pretty. We can tell you that, right? My biggest takeaway, honestly, Fog, kind of where you were going. And I kind of already said it, was the amount of offensive players drafted before the first defensive guy went off. But it was also one of my biggest takeaways from the draft was it kind of has to do with quarterbacks. Well, it does, but the amount of picks that were chosen between the last quarterback and then last quarterback in the first round and then the next one taken. Spencer Rattler wasn't taken until the 5th round.
Yep.
After Bo Nix, which I found just fascinating. I felt like those guys were going to just kind of not fly off the board, but I thought Spencer Rattler was going to be a 3rd or 4th round guy, and Jordan Travis went in the 5th round, and they all started coming off, man. But I think 137 picks went by before the next quarterback went, which is crazy, which is really, really wild. But and then also cornerbacks just fell. Like there were some elite corners who were just falling, and we all know why. We all know who started that trend. We all know who started that, who effed up the whole draft, right? Because they deserve an F for their draft. But we're gonna get to that in a minute. But like, that. I mean, your guys. We're talking about your team in a minute. Got literally 2 of the top 5 defensive backs in the entire draft. Like, that's just insane. I mean, that's insane. I mean, so that was my biggest takeaway. Yeah, I mean, the way the draft just fell was kind of crazy. But let's go ahead and get into our winners and losers, man. Let's talk about who won and lost this draft, right? Paul, give us your first winner.
My first winner has to be. I juggled between this because, like I said, there's a lot of teams that I felt like, wow, these guys did really good. But my first winner has to be the Seattle Seahawks. I just think that Seattle did everything right picking wise to satisfy the needs that they had for their team. When you look at, the getting Byron Murphy guy, the guard from Connecticut, Christian Haynes, who was a guy that's scouted as a top 10 offensive player. You get the kid from the tight end from Michigan, AJ Barner.
AJ Barner.
That was a solid pick for them. Giving them a good receiving option at tight end. A guy that big corner. I like big corners. And Nahima Pritchett, him falling as far as he did. You're talking about a 6-foot guy that is definitely going to body some of these smaller, faster wide receivers and be a good corner, in my opinion, in the NFL. Is going to have a good starting career. I gotta say, man, I can't get mad at anything that they did. Murphy, Haynes, potentially Trice Knight, Barner, these are all guys that are potentially going to be day one starters for this team.
Yeah, the Seahawks did really, really well. They're actually one of my winners, but I scratched them out because I figured you would go with them. One of my winners, man. Look, I'm gonna be a little bit of. Well, actually, you know what? I'll save that for later. No, my winner is JJ McCarthy. Now I picked a player because of where he ended up. JJ McCarthy you can make the argument Caleb Williams ended up in a pretty good situation as well, but Caleb Williams doesn't have the best receiver in football on this team, doesn't potentially have the best number 2 receiver on this team either, right? Doesn't have an offensive minded coach and Kevin McConnell there as well. Like Jason McCarthy is in the best situation right now to really succeed. I think he won where he went in the draft. I really, really feel like he's someone that's going to, I don't want to say he's going to take off, but man, you know how easy it must be to play quarterback when you have the best receiver on your football team. It's got to be pretty easy to develop once you have the best receiver on your football team. I think that
not just the best receiver, not just the best receiver. He's got one of the 3 best tight ends in TJ Hockenson.
TJ Hockenson. What's the guy's name? Addison, for I forget his first name.
Jordan Addison.
Jordan Addison. Thank you, Justin Jefferson. One of the best lines in football as well. Running back situation is not the best, but I'm pretty sure they can kind of figure that out. He's in a situation pretty much where he was at Michigan, but with better receivers, right? Like he's in a situation where he can't mess up. You just give the ball to your best receivers, and you should be okay. And I think Kevin McConnell, really, it's going to be a lot of play action. He's athletic enough to get out of the pocket and roll out and to either make a run for a first down or throw those stack routes. You know, I think he's in a really, really good spot. I really do. I think he's one of the major winners. Well, you have any other winners?
My other winner, I'm gonna stay in that division. I had a winner, but I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna keep that winner quiet because we're gonna discuss something else. But my other winner would have to be the Detroit Lions, man.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles and their 2 cornerbacks, but I mean, come on. How does Detroit get Arnold and Rakestraw to come in there? And these, again, Rakestraw was one of my top 5 corners coming out in this draft, and Arnold was number 1 for me. And you bagged both of those guys. I mean, they're preparing for life, obviously, against the quarterbacks and passing. So they're preparing for life against Jordan Love. Now J.J. McCarthy, via Justin Jefferson. But then they came back, and here's a guy. All these LSU players that got drafted. I'm going to tell you, there's a guy that went in I think it was the 6th round or the 7th round from LSU. And it's that kid, Mekhi Wingo. Keep an eye on him. Even though he was a late pick, because of Jordan Jefferson, because of Mason. Damn, what the hell's his last name? I forget his last name, but that whole defensive line setup that the LSU Tigers had. He's going to be a guy that I think can sneak in there and wind up being a starter for the Detroit Lions and a solid starting NFL defensive tackle for the Lions, for years to come. So I like what the Lions did. And again, they did it with limited amount of picks. I think they only had 6 picks in this draft.
Yeah. The Lions went straight need, right? And they got their DBs in the beginning of the draft, right? They got their corners in the beginning of the draft. They went straight need, so they should be a better football team defensively next year. Offensively, they were pretty much in stride, with that offense.
They needed help defensively.
So like I think they feel some needs. My other winner, man, I went back and forth, right? And I couldn't say the Chiefs. I felt the Chiefs. I want to say Patrick Mahomes. I like what they did by getting Kingsley Sumatia from BYU was such a sleeper pick. I mean, now you have your line is solidified for at least the duration of Patrick Mahomes' career if he can come along. And then the tight end, Jared Wiley, who I like a lot from CU. Obviously, Kelsey is going to be gone, and this guy's not a Kelsey clone, but he's a guy that was really, really productive at BYU. I just didn't like the Xavier Worthy pick. I understand why people do. I get it. He's fast, 4.21. I'm not a fan of those guys who run these 40s and expect to just become one of the greatest receivers of all time. I understand that. And people are telling me, oh, he's a football player who runs fast. I watched a lot of the Texas film. I don't like any of the Texas receivers as like first round picks. And I'm actually, Xavier Worthy went in first round. But Adonai Mitchell, I think he went where he needed to go, to the Colts. I think he's going to be good. If there's any Texas receiver I do like, it's him more. I'm not a big fan of Xavier Worthy, right? And I wanted to make the Chiefs a winner, but that pick kind of bothered me. So I actually changed my pick. And I'm actually going to Los Angeles Chargers because Jim Harbaugh is pretty much building this team the way Jim Harbaugh builds football teams, and that's from within out. Obviously, going number 5 with Joe Alt. I think you have a staple. either at right tackle or left tackle. You either leave Slater at left tackle, you put at right tackle, you switch them. Bottom line, you have bookends, right? You have bookends for your line for pretty much the entire duration of Justin Herbert's career, right? And then continue to build with linebacker Junior Collison, who I like from Michigan, another Michigan guy, right? And then they have Justin Igwe from Notre Dame, who I like a lot. And then I think this is somebody you're going to mention a little bit, Cam Hart from Notre Dame, the corner from the Fighting Irish. I like him as well. I mean, and then a sleeper pick I'm surprised he actually fell to the 7th round. The GOAT's son, Brendan Rice, where they need a receiver, right? Staying in LA, USC's receiver from USC, staying in LA and going to the Los Angeles Chargers. I just like what Harbaugh is just building this team pretty much the way he built the 49ers, right? Possession receivers. He's going to run the football. I do believe they got a running back. Who did they get? What running back did they get? Kamani Vidal from Troy. I honestly really felt like they were going to land either Blake Corum or Roman Wilson. But you know what they say about coaches who come from college? They don't usually draft their guys because they know them very, very well. And they know their pros and cons. So maybe Harbaugh just didn't really see Blake Corum doing what he did at Michigan.
That should set a red flag.
For real.
Who drafted Corum?
Who drafted Blake Corum? Goodness. I was looking out for that one. Hold on. Let me see. It was a team that I wasn't expecting.
Was it the Rams?
Yes. It's LA. Yeah, it was the Rams. It was the Rams, who I didn't think needed a running back because they have the rookie from Notre Dame last year. What was his name? The little guy, the scat back. I forget his name. He almost could have won Rookie of the Year. He came along last year. So I was kind of surprised. I guess they're going to be a 1-2 punch. But yeah, that is a little telling, right? That's a little telling that Harbaugh had a chance to draft his guys and decided not to. But yeah, I think the Chargers had a good draft. They drafted from the inside out. I really appreciate that they did that because it's going to take some pressure off Justin Herbert where he can just kind of make some plays. And he's not going to throw the ball 40, 50 times a game, right? But they had a really good job. They had a really good job. All right. Fog, with winners, it's always a loser. Who are one of your losers of this year's draft?
Okay. It's not because I'm an Eagles fan. But I'm going to say the New York Giants.
Yeah, man.
Outside of Malik, now I like Tyler Nubin. Don't get me wrong. I like Nubin. I think he's got the potential to be a good starting safety in the league. But after that, dude, Andrew Phillips, I didn't even have him on the radar. The Kentucky cornerback.
Mm-hmm.
Theo Johnson from Penn State. Okay, maybe he makes the team. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. Purdue running back Tyrone Tracy. Okay, you're not replacing Saquon Barkley, even an injured Saquon Barkley with him. Yeah. I don't think their draft was that good. And while they did address positions of need,
picked the wrong damn players.
You picked the wrong players at those positions.
Yeah.
So the Giants for me. And then here's the other thing: no offensive lineman, not one.
Not one.
Not one.
Not even like not even taking a flyer on anybody. Like, God, man.
So you must feel real good about that offensive line.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, and I'm looking at their picks now, and like I do like Tyler Nubin. They need a safety help, so I do like that pick. Their first two picks were solid. I personally would have went line. I would have went J.C. Latham or Alu Fanashu from Penn State. I like Malik Neighbors. Who's throwing it to him? And Daniel Jones is not good. I don't understand why they're trying to justify Daniel Jones. I guess they're trying to justify the contract or not. What are they trying to do? I'm not really sure, man. But I'm not a fan of what the Giants did at all. Like, I mean, with I'm not a fan of with the draft, but I would have went protecting Daniel Jones, who's coming off an ACL injury, right? Then going Malik Neighbors, who I think is going to be really good, but I feel like we're not going to really see.
If you can't get him if you can't get the goddamn ball to him, what's the point?
It almost kind of, well, no, because Eli was still playing pretty well when Odell got there, so I can't say it reminds me of that too much. But I can't. Who's trying to call me? Can you hear the ringing?
Yeah, I did.
But I can't say that much. But about Eli to Odell, I just think Malik Neighbors was not the best pick. Maybe it was a BPA pick, I guess. But my loser, man, my loser is going to be it's not the Falcons were a loser. We all know that. I talked about it all weekend, so I'm going to leave them alone. But I actually, when I thought about it, like it's actually Michael Penix Jr. He's the real loser in this, and the reason why I say that is, look, man, I feel like Penix Jr., if I'm him personally, and maybe he's not thinking this way, maybe he's happy to sit behind Kirk Cousins. Maybe they really do have a good relationship. I don't know. But if it were me, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm 24, 25 years old, whatever. I'm a top 10 pick. Personally, if anybody's ready to play right now, it's probably him and Caleb Williams, right? I think he's ready to play right now, Penix Jr. And like, now I got to sit behind, like literally like presumably 2 years behind a guy that, you just paid $180 million to. So like now I got to sit. I feel kind of bad for him because he's kind of getting dragged and it's not even his fault. Like, because they picked him in a place where you expect him to play right now and kind of grow with those guys, those young guys like Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. You expect him to do that, but he's not going to play for like another 2 or 3 years. He's going to be 27, maybe 28. And then also I thought about this. I think I heard who did I hear say this? I heard somebody, either I read it or somebody said it. I'm trying to remember where I saw it. But look, when you get to that age, Fog, especially with his injury history, you gotta think about that second contract, yo. Yeah, that second contract, man. Like when he's gonna get it? Like when he's 33. I mean, obviously it can happen because you've seen guys get second and third contracts later down the line in their age, but you can't really rely on that necessarily. But man, Penix Jr., man, I just think the Falcons just butchered this draft. I understand there's no way. For me, there's no way to justify the Atlanta Falcons pick. There's no way. I don't care what people say. The future, Penix Jr. may be the best quarterback. He fits well. He's from, I think is he from Atlanta? I don't know. He's from South Carolina, something like that. Florida. I don't really know. But nothing can justify it. And honestly, this GM, what if he just gets fired? Like, then what? Then what? The next GM, you know how it goes, Fog, that the next guy comes in. Are they going to want Penix Jr. as their quarterback?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it puts him in such a bind, man. Like, I don't know. If I'm him, obviously he can't do much about it. He can't do much about it. He can't like force his way on the field. You can only have one quarterback on the field, right? So I'm just not a fan of what the Falcons did at all. I'm not, and I feel bad. And that's why Penix Jr. is the loser to me. Not because he's the bad quarterback. I have nothing against the guy. I really don't. But you kind of got a raw deal, man. You got any more? You got any more losers, Fog?
My other loser might be the Cincinnati Bengals. and I'm rooting for Cincinnati. I was rooting for Joe Mixon. It's a shame that he's out of there now. I'm rooting for Joe Burrow, but I'm looking at the Cincinnati Bengals and I'm going, you look at your first two picks. Look, is Chris Jenkins really going to be this great defensive tackle coming out of Michigan? I mean, he's good, but I don't think he's great. Amarius Mims, look, at the 18th pick, we talked about it on draft day. This guy is completely boom or bust. There's no in between with Mims. He's either going to be great or he's going to fall off the face of the earth. He's such a raw talent.
Yeah. Huh? Yeah.
And then his injury history, too. He only played like 8 games in the last 2 seasons or 9 games. When he's on the field, he looks great. Then your third pick, wide receiver Jermaine Burton. Dude, I had Jermaine Burton as probably at the back end of top 25 wide receivers, and you potentially going to lose T. Higgins. I hope they don't. I hope the Bengals are smarter than that. But yeah, I'm sorry. I am not a fan. No, look, I like what they did getting Josh Newton from TCU. I like him, but everything else that they got, I'm just it's. I don't know, man. It just didn't hit for me. I looked at their draft and I was like, wow, you had all those picks. Again, it's another team. You had a lot of picks, but I just don't feel like the Bengals got value for the picks that they made.
Well, with that, clearly they feel like Trey Henderson is really serious about winning this trade because they drafted 2 defensive tackles, right? So
yeah,
clearly they don't feel like he's gonna come back, or they're gonna bring him back. I don't know. You don't draft that many if you don't feel like the guy who was there, it's not gonna be back. Right? I think Higgins has a chance to be back. I think they can work that out possibly. I think it depends on what the market is for Higgins too, right? Higgins is gonna see maybe it's not a big market for him. Maybe Higgins takes less, but he does take that franchise tag. I don't know, right? That's why I think Jermaine Burton was a little bit more. I don't want to call it an insurance policy, but maybe just kind of bolstering up that wide receiver. Because honestly, I think Tyler Boyd's a free agent as well, right? So there's 2 receivers that could be gone, right? So, yeah, I wasn't thrilled about the Bengals draft. I didn't think it was bad, but I wasn't thrilled about it.
Well, again, I don't think there's not a lot of teams in this draft. I had to kind of look at it and say, okay, which one could I dissect? And Cincinnati was one of those ones based on the amount of picks that they had. I just don't feel they got enough value for those picks. But again, we're grading guys coming out. We got to see them. That kid McKinley Jackson out of Texas A&M. He could really turn into something. So you never know.
He could. No. He really could. He really could turn into something. I agree with that. I didn't really have another loser in this. You said like the Falcons were the only team that really stood out to me as like a true loser of this draft because of how they started the draft. And I feel like it just could really just change it did change the complexion of the entire draft. And I just feel like that was glaring to me. You know, you could say I'm going back and forth with the Niners. Clearly by drafting Ricky Purcell, somebody's going. It's gonna be Ayuk or it's gonna be or Deebo Samuel.
I tell you what, all reports are saying that unless they're getting a number 1 pick and more.
Yeah, they want a lot.
The 49ers are not parting ways with any of these guys. So it looks like he's in there. And I agree with you. Taking Purcell, which your first pick was wild as hell. I also think Renardo Green might have been a little bit of a reach there at corner. But I will say there's a guy, and I like Jawar Jordan out of Louisville. I do. But this guy is sneaky good. Isaac Guerendo, the other running back.
Yeah. I saw him against Florida State. Yeah, no, he's solid. He's a solid back. He's, it might be time for Elijah Mitchell to kind of get it packing because he might be coming in and spelling Christian McCaffrey very, very soon.
Yeah, and Guerendo has the size that you also want.
Yeah, and he has the size too, absolutely. So that's a good call right there. But yeah, it's going to be a very crowded wide receiver room. And obviously, look, this is the development of their guy, Brock Purdy. So they have to know, like, okay, they got to handle this delicately. Look, Purcell's a playmaker. I know that much. He's a playmaker. Yeah. He's good. I didn't have him going in the first round, but clearly Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch saw something in his talent where they felt like, okay, he's going to fit. And honestly, because of the kind of player he is, if I had to choose who he's going to probably replace, I think it's probably going to be Ayuk. I think it's going to be him, but a first round pick for Ayuk is a lot. I like Ayuk too. A first round pick for him is a lot. I mean, that's going to be tough to sell, man. But we'll see, man. But Purcell, They're saying that he could be a sleeper in this draft, Fog. He's not one of mine. I don't think it's one of yours, but he could be a sleeper. But is there any sleepers in this draft? Who's going to be the next Puka Nacua? That's what we want to know. Not necessarily at wide receiver, but who's going to be that guy who's just going to just come out of nowhere and literally, I mean, Puka Nacua, is he a top 5 wide receiver in the league right now? Is it arguably? Is he top 5? Is he up there right now?
I would say the numbers may give him give credence to that. He's definitely a top 10, top 5 receiver. His numbers, but again, we can't just go off of 1 year. You have to see more. So he can be, but I think, like I said, I wouldn't say he's a top 5 receiver just yet. We got to see that consistency. I got to see more from him.
But who's going to be the next Puka Nacua? Do you have anybody that's going to be him?
For me, that offensive player that it can pop up and just explode, and it's going where he's going to is equally as important. Running back Jalen Wright out of Tennessee.
You like him a lot. You've been talking about him.
Listen.
Yeah.
I had him as the sixth or seventh best running back in the draft. But I kept looking at him, and I kept looking back at a person that went to his alma mater, Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking, I'm like, and I had Kamara as the 6th or 7th best running back coming out in that draft.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at what he brings, because he wasn't utilized in the receiving game, but he's got very good hands. He's extremely explosive and fast. He's a solid running back. This guy has 3 down back written all over him and explosiveness on top of it. Going to a team in Miami that needs a running back that is going to be able to give them help on the ground, but also be able to give them help in the receiving game. And you don't have to play the shuffle. I think Jalen Wright could be the guy that comes out and just blows everybody out the water with what he's able to do. And he's not even the best running back that came out in this draft, but I think he's one of the more talented ones, athletically gifted, and falls into a situation where I think Mike McDaniel knows he knows how to work running game, and I think he's going to work Jalen Wright in. I think Jalen Wright was a steal for him in the 4th round.
Man, the Dolphins got another. Didn't they just get Devin Achane?
Yeah. But again, I kept saying this. The running backs in last year's draft, after you got past Bijan Robinson, the majority of the running backs that got drafted were small running backs and all guys that, in my opinion, would be better suited as slot receivers.
Yeah. Yeah, man, the Dolphins just got a little bit faster, right? So we'll see how that works out for them. But I'm going to go with the guy, man, the minute I saw his name pop up on my screen, or I think on my phone, when I saw where he got drafted, I was like, wow, he has a chance to, just based on where he's going and who his quarterback is, he's got a shot to be really, really good. And that's Malachi Corley from Western Kentucky, who is supposedly supposed to be like the next Deebo Samuel, the next Percy Harvin. He's a Swiss Army knife. He's one of those guys that when he catches it, he turns into a running back. That's pretty much what happens to him. Didn't play against D1 or top competition, but he's supposed to be really, really good in terms of his run after catch. And now it gives Aaron Rodgers another weapon along with Garrett Wilson, right? And then obviously they drafted their offensive lineman this past draft in Alu Fanuchu. So they have protection for Rodgers and they got him a weapon. So they actually had a really good draft themselves too,
yes,
right?
They did.
So I don't know if it's gonna be Puka Nacua. I think Puka Nacua just kind of came out of nowhere and nobody really saw that one coming. Not many saw that one coming, but man, I think that Malachi Corley, just based on where he went, based on where he was drafted, has a shot to really, really just kind of take off right from the get-go because of his quarterback. And I think he's like almost like gonna be like Aaron Rodgers' next Randall Cobb. That's another name that came up, right? He's going to do everything. He's going to take back kicks. He's going to take end arounds. He's going to have the ball in his hand he's probably going to get at least like between like average like 10 to 12 touches a game if they can, between kick return, punt return, obviously receiving, maybe even handing the ball in the backfield. I don't know, right? But they had a pretty solid draft, but that's another guy.
Yeah.
Another sleeper I had. Actually, do you have no sleeper?
Yeah, I got one more defense. I got my defensive sleeper.
Oh, you went defense?
Well, yeah, that's my defensive sleeper, and it's my guy I was talking about, Cam Hart, that went to the Chargers.
Yeah,
this is Cam Hart is he's a grown man defensive back. This is throwback defensive back. The guy's 6'2", very strong. And let me tell you something. The one thing that stood out to me, nobody talks about it, and like I said it, the guy's a great. He's the best wide receiver in this class. But let's not forget that I think it was week 5 for Notre Dame and week 4 for Ohio State, when Ohio State just barely beat Notre Dame 17-14, and Cam Hart locked Marvin Harrison Jr. down. 3 catches, 32 yards. No touchdowns.
Yeah.
He's going to be a guy.
Yeah.
He's going to be a guy that's going to remind me, unfortunately, a lot of Jalen Ramsey. Now, obviously, he doesn't have that athleticism, but the one thing that Cam Hart is going to struggle with is against smaller receivers. But those bigger receivers, if he's got a good defensive line that can get to the quarterback, he's going to make sure that he is on that DB. And I think Cam Hart has the potential to be a solid starting corner in the NFL. And his size and length just makes him that much more dangerous, because it's going to be that much more difficult for you to get the ball to your receivers. And he is an outside corner. He's not like a lot of these corners that got drafted ahead of him, where you don't know if the guy's going to be able to be an outside corner or if he's going to be a slot corner. This is an outside corner. He's outside the numbers all day.
Yeah, he's gonna be good. He's good. That's a Harbaugh pick, and Harbaugh obviously played against Michigan, Big Ten guy, Big Ten team, kind of Big Ten team, and Harbaugh likes his big cornerbacks. Obviously, he had who's his cornerback for the Niners? His name is slipping my mind, but Harbaugh likes his big cornerbacks, right? So he's got his guy. Had Richard Sherman back at Stanford, obviously. Yeah. So there's that as well. So he knows the kind of corners that he likes. And he plays Legion of Boom. He knows big cornerbacks are needed with Brendan Browner and Richard Sherman and all those guys, Cam Chancellor. So he knows the importance of having really, really big cornerbacks, especially in this league today, where these corners or these receivers are getting bigger, faster, and stronger. You need to match that on the other side of the football. So I was gonna go defense. 2 of my guys kind of come from the same team. I was gonna go actually with one of my favorite DBs, not as big as your guy, but is Mike Sandstrom. Still from
the kid from Michigan.
I like him a lot. He's a playmaker. He's gonna be a guy that's gonna be inside. I think he is a sleeper. I think Washington's really, really gonna like this guy. Really, they need quarterback help. So that was a good pick for them. Washington, honestly, if I had another winner, they had a really, really good draft. Really good draft. They had a lot of picks as well. So this new regime in Washington, so far so good. This is the first post Dan Snyder draft. So they did pretty well. But man, this kid, who I think is gonna be a fan favorite because of the last name alone, I think Luke McCaffrey, man, is gonna be one of those guys who is just gonna be a pest to a lot of teams. Obviously with Dotson there and McLaurin, him in the middle, he's a guy, he just makes plays. He just knows how to come down with the ball. He's good after the catch. He's going to be a guy who's going to move the chains for Jaden Daniels. He might even be a little bit of a safety net for him. He's a possession receiver, not a burner, but he's a former quarterback. So he understands the position. He's a hell of an athlete. Obviously runs in the family with his dad, Ed McCaffrey, and obviously his brother Christian in San Francisco. Man, I think he's going to be someone that's going to really not. I don't think he's going to win Rookie of the Year or anything like that. I think it's going to be Puka Nacua, but 6'2", 198, big body, good body control with his back shoulder throws. I found it funny every time they they haven't even said it in the broadcast. Like every time he got tackled, his helmet popped off. So he might need to find a bigger helmet because like it was really weird that his helmet I think his helmet popped up like 5 times this year, which is super weird. But yeah, like I think that he's gonna be a guy that we should keep an eye on. Definitely keep an eye on him as a sleeper. Maybe not the next Puka Nacua. I don't think any of these guys may be him. I think Puka Nacua was one of those kids, one of those guys that just kind of just came out of nowhere and just exploded onto the scene. Really, kind of interesting to see how he does his next year. But yeah, I think he's gonna be he's gonna be a sleeper in Washington for Jayden Daniels with that receiving core, and all of a sudden that receiving core for Washington, if they can live up to the potential with McLaurin obviously being one of the best. Dotson coming along, and now Luke McCaffrey. All of a sudden, that core looks pretty damn good. They look pretty damn good. So we'll see where they. We'll see how they look on the field, not just paper. And they got the tight end Brendan Sanat too, right? So they got another good guy from Kansas. We'll see him. Washington had a really good draft, sleeper draft, definitely a sleeper draft for Washington. Fogman said Johnny Wilson would have been a good next pick if he didn't get buried in the Eagles wide receiver. You guys got Johnny Wilson?
Yeah.
Oh man. What's your GM's name? Howie? What's his name?
Howie Roseman.
Howie Roseman. Like I've never.
They got Johnny Wilson, and I think in the 6th round. I think 5th or 6th round.
He's just a red zone machine. He's 6'7".
Yeah.
Along with AJ Brown. Wow. Yeah. That's gonna be, and that's somebody Jalen Hurts needs, another 50-50 guy. Like, yeah, you guys did a hell of a job. That's all I can say. That's all I got. All right, I don't know, like saying it, but like I can't even front. You guys, your draft was just sensational. It's incredible. How you guys got Cooper DeJean and Quentin Mitchell will never cease to amaze me. How you guys got 2 of the top cornerbacks. Bradbury should just pack his bags now because he's not going to be around much longer.
No,
he's not going to be around much longer at all. But well, let's go ahead into our rookie of the years, man. Our way too early rookie of the year candidates. Who do you think is going to be this year's rookie of the year? You can pick any side of the ball, defense, offense. You pick.
Defense is going to be hell to try to find a guy in this draft. So I'm going to be lazy and I'm going to go easy work here. If he pans out, look, I had him as the 2nd best quarterback in this draft behind Jayden Daniels. I think his upside is tremendous, though. And that's Caleb Williams. The situation he's in with Chicago right now, when you've got Keenan Allen and DJ Moore, you add a hungry, not just a good wide receiver with the potential to be great, a hungry wide receiver, and Rome Odunze. And it's a recipe for success. They went out, they got DeAndre Swift to be their running back. They're putting something together there. It sucks. It really does suck that their previous quarterback wasn't getting the help like this. Fields just did not get. I also think they didn't like Fields, to be honest with you.
No.
But Fields was also the reason that they won 7 games and I think saved their coach's job, to be honest with you. So it's kind of shitty raw deal that Fields got. But I think Caleb Williams coming in here, if he's going to be everything that he has been hyped up to be, even if he doesn't live up to what he's hyped up to be, what he's got around him and the potential offensively for this team. Look, I thought Justin Fields was going to be an offensive player of the year candidate because I thought they were starting to put pieces there.
Yeah.
I think they just doubled down on that this year. I would, if offensive rookie of the year, I'd definitely say Caleb Williams has the best chance out of anybody to do it.
I mean, it's definitely his to lose. Like there's really it's almost full. I don't remember a number 1 overall pick quarterback coming into a situation like this. Like there have been guys like like JJ McCarthy, who've been chosen and come into pretty good situations, like at the back end of the draft, maybe, you know what I mean? Or like, Brock Purdy, who was Mr. Irrelevant and just gets dropped into like one of the best situations in football with all those weapons around him. Bro, like Caleb Williams literally is being dropped into not one of the best offensive line, but like maybe a top 10 line, maybe top 15 line. It's not a bad line. You have DeAndre Swift in the back, Caleb Herbert, right? DJ Moore, who had a career year with Justin Fields, by the way, Cole Kmet, right? And then they signed the guy from the Chargers. What's his name?
Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen, who's one of the better receivers in the draft when healthy. But if he's not healthy, it's fine. We got this one kid from Washington who I feel like is the second best receiver in this draft in Rome Odunze, who I think honestly could potentially be, if he's not going to be better than Marvin Harrison Jr., I think he's going to be right there neck and neck. I think they're always going to be like 1 and 2, right? I think Marvin Harrison is better right now, just in terms of caliber coming into the NFL. But don't be surprised if Rome Odunze kind of takes a lead at some point this year. Who has the better quarterback? Is he better than Kyler? I don't know. I mean, let me think about that for a second. But it's almost hard.
Better than the Week 5 MVP? That's my brother said, right? On the draft show, Week 5 MVP. Dave, just correct me if I'm wrong if you're still watching.
I don't know if he's better than Kyle. That's actually a question I have to think about. Because I like Kyler's a good quarterback. He's a top 10, 15 quarterback in this draft or in this league, right?
You know who's the loser? You know who's the biggest loser? I just thought about it now.
Who's that?
Carolina Panthers. You could have been drafting Caleb Williams. Nope, you got Bryce Young.
Look, I still think Bryce Young can play.
I know you do.
I think he can play. Upon review, I don't mind Xavier Leggett. I was kind of like, really him? But I'm not mad at it that much. He's a big dude, 6'1", 221. I mean, he's a big target, right? And he ran a 4.39 the combine. I think that's going to be a pretty interesting combine. Jonathan Brooks, they got your guy, right? They got your Texas guy who I like, who was one of my top 5 in backs because he was hurt, but when he was healthy, he was really damn good. He was really good. So there's that as well. So they did some pretty good things in the draft. I'm not mad at them. Trevin Wallace from Kentucky, I liked him. They did some things in the draft. I still think Bryce Young can play. It's just a matter of, we'll see what other pieces they continue to put around him. I think he's going to improve this year. But my early Rookie of the Year candidate, man. So I'm going to go out on a limb here. He could have been my sleeper too, but I wanted to save it for the Rookie of the Year candidate because I think he could be that Puka Nacua because of where he's going and because of the pedigree, and I just like the way he runs the football. He's going to the Bills. He got signed by the Bills, and that's Frank Gore Jr., who I think is going to take over the starting role, at running back at that position. I know they have James Cook there who did his thing. They could be a little 1-2 punch, but I think Frank Gore Jr., man, he just runs the ball just like his father. He slithers through. He knows it's not flashy. He just knows where to go. He finds the chains. He moves the chains. He's not as strong as his dad yet. I just think that if the Bills really want to be serious about preserving Josh Allen and kind of changing the philosophy of Josh Allen and not making him Superman and really kind of changing the philosophy of how you want to utilize this offense and not making him do everything, you got 2 good running backs in the backfield now, right? I think so. And James Cook and Frank Gore Jr., who I definitely think he's going to make the team. You got 2 good backs in this league now, right? Or on this team now that can really, really help, Josh Allen, not take some of the burden off Josh Allen. And I like the Keon Coleman. I like the Keon Coleman grab by them. That was a really, really good grab by them. Like Keon Coleman, I think is going to be a really, really good receiver in this league. But yeah, I think obviously it's early. So I think Frank Gore Jr., if he makes a team, obviously, which I think he will, because they need running backs on that team. He's my early candidate to win Rookie of the Year this year. So yeah, like I said, the defensive side of the ball, You got guys who you pick from. You got Byron Murphy, Dallas Turner, Latu. I mean, you got guys, Cam Hart, maybe, right? Who won it last year? Witherspoon? Was it Devin Witherspoon? I think
No,
Devin.
Witherspoon didn't win. I got pissed off because I don't even think he was second or third. What's his name from Houston?
Yeah, I didn't think. I thought that was
Anderson, Will Anderson.
It was a clean sweep, right? It was C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson won on the same team.
Yeah.
I think Will Anderson was good either. I didn't like that either. I wasn't a fan. I think that was more of a just like a flavor, not flavor of the month, but like it was like one of those popular decision things, right? Because the Texans are the flavor of the month. They're the hottest team in the NFL right now. Everyone's talking about them. Not that Will Anderson didn't play well. He had 7 sacks. Like he did okay. I just felt like Devin Witherspoon had a bigger impact on his team than Will Anderson. I just think Will Anderson was on the better team, right? And I think both teams made the playoffs. So, I mean, yeah, I didn't like that either. I wasn't a big fan of that. But, yeah, I mean, I think defensively, I mean, it could be a guy in the 4th or 5th round on one of these guys. It could be Latu. It could be Dallas Turner. Byron Murphy's if they could have a shot. One of these corners on your team, they Cooper DeJean or Teron Mitchell. I mean, if you're betting, bet on the Eagles. Like, I mean, they have 2 of the best defensive rookies on the team, literally. Yeah. So, like, that's something that we can look out for. All right, Fog, before we close it out, let's just talk about our teams real quick, man. I don't know if you can see that, and it's hard to see if you guys can see at home. Let's talk about our teams. Maybe I can make it a little bigger real quick. There we go. We're not on the screen anymore, but you're on the left. I'm on the left. You're on the right. Go ahead and talk about your team real quick. How do you give us a grade? Give your team a final grade. How did your team do?
I hate saying this, but I give my team an A. I think this is one of the best drafts that I've seen Philadelphia make. We could sit here and talk ad nauseum about Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about Jalix Hunt. This guy was on the radar. And I'm like, well, I should have said that this guy should be a sleeper because he was on the radar. I had him as one of the 12th. I think I had him at 12 as far as linebackers and / edge rushers coming out in this draft. And he, solid starter, started every game, really strong, impact on his team. Yeah, he played for Houston Christian, whatever. But the guy's got a dog in him when you watch film of him. And I was like, wow, this guy looks like he could be somebody that gets drafted in like the 5th or 6th round and is a real sleeper. And the Eagles come in and boom, grab him in the 3rd. I was like, ooh, that was impressive. I like getting Will Shipley. I think Will Shipley is going to be a good complement at the running back position. That was huge.
I didn't even know Will Shipley was coming out.
Neither did I. I had no idea that. But then I saw him, and I think it's who the hell was it? Not Pro Football Focus. Walter Football. I saw him in there, and I was like, oh, okay, so he's coming out. I would honestly, I would probably put Will Shipley and Blake Corum in the same playing field. I didn't think Blake Corum was this elite running back that people have him, but we'll find out. Then I love the Jeremiah Trotter Jr. sign. I like Jeremiah Trotter Jr. He's very good. I think he fills a need as well, especially with the Eagles losing Hassan Reddick. So you get Jalix Hunt there. You bring Jeremiah Trotter in to have a little more depth in that front 7. I love that move. And then, like my brother pointed out, Johnny Wilson, man, I was like, how the hell did they get this guy? I don't think Johnny Wilson I don't think he would have been or could have been a potential to be the next Puka. But I do think he has the ability, because of that 50-50 jump ball ability, to be a guy that is going to be a solid red zone threat and a solid short yardage guy that you can use with Jalen Hurts if you're going to run read options and need 2 or 3 yards and just boom, lob it up and let him go up and get it instead of Hurts having to run and get himself potentially killed. So all in all, I love what the Eagles did. They not only addressed needs that they had, especially in the secondary, but they also they got
some of the best players available at that position of need, which is really important. They did it, Howie Roseman, I don't know how he does it, but he's done a lot of it over the course of the last decade, getting not only the position of need, but a best player available at that position. He did a really good job.
Yeah, I mean, it was a solid draft, no question about it. There's not much else to talk about. It was a solid draft for you guys, really from top to bottom. Really, like I didn't even know you guys got Johnny Wilson and then Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Right, I didn't even know. Wow, that is just a really good draft for the future. I give our team. I don't like I said, I don't like saying it either, but I give our team an A as well. Like I give the Steelers what we did. I mean, we're clearly. Arthur Smith has a plan. Mike Tomlin has a plan. Omar Khan had a plan, and that's to get back to what we want to do, and that's run the football. Getting back to Steeler football. Obviously, drafting Fautanu was huge. We didn't think he was going to be there. We did not think he was going to be there for us to take. And then Zach Fraser, who I like a lot, has a lot of football, 4-year starter at West Virginia. Look, and that center position is so important. I mean, it's just so vital to the Pittsburgh Steelers' success. I mean, you got Mike Pouncey, Mike Webster, Marquise Pouncey, and then Mike Webster, and then Ray Mansfield, like Cody Wallace. I mean, we're a team of when we have our center, we just are Steeler football. Like we are winning games. We're running the football. We're doing what we need to do. So I think we have our center, and he's a smart guy, and he wrestled. I didn't even know he wrestled. Zach Fraser wrestles, so he knows how to leverage himself and get down, get low, and when run blocking. My favorite pick is Roman Wilson. It was Peyton Wilson, but Roman Wilson is somebody. Look, Deontay Johnson, as headachy as he was. Right down the stretch. I mean, he wasn't like that. It just happened like this year. He had production. That was a lot of production we had to fulfill. There's a lot of rumors about Brandon Ayuk. I'm not a fan of trading for Brandon Ayuk. It's gonna take way too much capital. We're gonna have to pay him, and then we still gotta pay George Pickens in the future as well. Not a fan of the Brandon Ayuk rumors. If it happens, cool. I just hope we don't give up too much. But Roman Wilson is a dynamic receiver. He's fast, he's quick, he's got hands, and he runs good routes. Undersized, but that's okay because look, that's the kind of guys Russell Wilson needs. He's kind of like a Tyler Lockett clone a little bit. He's a deep threat. I really was excited that we got him from Michigan. Peyton Wilson, honestly, if he stays healthy, easily automatic one of the best backs in this league. One of the best linebackers in this league, one of the best edge rushers. If he can stay upright, that's just the thing, man. He has a huge injury history. It's high risk, high reward. If it doesn't work out, it's okay. We can kind of figure it out next year in the draft as well. And not forget, we got Patrick Queen as well. So our linebacking core with Highsmith, Patrick Queen, Peyton Wilson, and then Watt coming off the edge. I mean, and then Hayward. Right up front, I was kind of hoping we got Johnny Newton. I was hoping we got him to kind of spell Hayward because Hayward is not getting any younger, but that's okay. And then Mason McCormick, who I liked as well, he's one of my top guards. We're running the football this year. And look, man, I've said it. I'll say it again. Najee is on the clock. I know people think I hate Najee. I don't hate Najee. I just want Najee. I just want Najee to do what we want Najee to do. And that's run the football, hard-nosed, right? Run behind your pads and run people over. And he was doing that last year. He was being more physical. Let Jaylen Warren be lightning and you be thunder. This, honestly, in a lot of ways, this draft was for him. He's coming up into his fifth-year deal, right? He's in his fourth year. He has
that Mason McCormick pick is huge.
It is. No, it is.
I don't think people understand. I talked about it. Running back. Isaiah, what the hell is Isaiah Davis, if I'm not mistaken? That the Jets drafted him. Isaiah Davis, the running back out of South Dakota State, big physical running back. Kind of matching kind of with Braylon Allen. I like what the Jets did there. But guess who was blocking for him? It was
McCormick.
McCormick.
And
Yeah.
he is look, South Dakota State had a downhill running game. But Isaiah Davis is a big boy. He's like 6'2", built like a brick shithouse. He will run through you. And he put up hella yards, and it was just running through people. And those holes were being opened up on the interior by McCormick.
Yeah, this is the Najee draft, man. We're gonna figure out who he is this year. Like he ran for 12. It's not the 1,000 yards that people need to understand. It's the yards per carry, right? And a lot of that's not his fault, but a lot of it is because he did a lot of dancing his first 2 years. Last year he did put his foot in the ground and go, but we're gonna see what kind of back he is these next 4 years. Or these next 2 years, really. Next year, or this coming year, and then his contract year, whether we pick up his option. We're gonna see who Najee Harris really is, man. But this was a great draft. I was happy with the guys we got, and yeah, I mean, both of our teams got guys that can plug and play right away. Plug and play right away. That are going to be the staples for our teams for a very long time, man. So, but we really, really appreciate everybody who came on. Go ahead again, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe to our own channels as well. Objectively Biased Sports, The Fog, and of course my page, Be Easy. We're both on Facebook. We both put up good content, good football and sports content that you guys will really enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe to our personal channels as well. But of course, subscribe to the channel too. Subscribe to the channel as well. And for everybody that joined us today, Kevin Oliver, David Fogbank, and everybody on Twitter, everybody on all the pages across 4QQ, 2-man front, game-winning drive, 3-man weave, everybody else who joined us, thank you guys very much for letting us into your homes on this Sunday afternoon. Fog, any last words before we go?
Yeah. Real church starts in September.
Oh man, I'm not watching that. I gotta find a church. So I promise I'll find a church here. So I got how many months do I have? What's the month? May, June, July, August. I got 4 months to find a real church. That's September. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough getting there. So I got 4 months to get to church. I got time. I'll find it. But with that being said, I'm Be Easy for Be Easy Sports. That's The Fog, and we'll see you guys next time.